back, my regular viewers, listeners, and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier eye hypnosis life healer coach and your personal guide. And a special warm welcome to all of you who've been tuning in to our pod, the iHypnosis Life Coaching Journeys. Today, of course, is a very special episode. But before I get to that, just a shout out. We started about a year ago, somewhere I think between Jan and Feb of 2024, and today is, of course, a momentous pod, a momentous recording of something that I know is going to make a difference in your life, especially if you are a healer, especially if you're a coach, someone who knows that you've been given a message. And we're always looking for that inspiration to keep going. And perfect timing that I have our perfect guest to fill in that energy into you, whether you're listening to this now at the time of the recording, or whether you're listening to this maybe a day, a month, maybe even years from now. So having, as I say, without further ado, let me welcome our very special guest, Fatima. You can, of course, now turn on your camera, and it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Rahul. It was so heavenly to hear your introduction. It was like just so calm and melodious. So you really have a way of introducing. So kudos to you on
Thank
that.
you.
And
Thank you.
thank
Thank you.
you for having me here on, I would say, which is a very special month, March, of course. And
Mm,
like you said, my intention is the same as well, to make sure that whoever is listening to this, whenever they are listening to it, uh, they would hope that this would create the change that I wanted to see when
yes.
I was in a journey of transformation.
Beautiful. Beautiful. There are two things that I'm going to do. I noticed that our tech, this is the flip side of recording it like this
Uh-huh.
versus in a studio. So I'm going to do two things. I don't know if you're able to pick up the fan, but I'm going to cut the fan for a second, and I'm going to be back in exactly like literally 30 seconds.
Okay, let me turn on the aircon.
Of course, the magic of recording in your home studio is that we are playing it loose, we're playing it easy, and the intention, of course, is to be able to keep our recordings going, to be able to find amazing guests. And what better than to have you, Fatima, on episode number 50. So today is definitely a special day for us. As I said, we've been doing this now since Jan, if memory serves me right, of 2024. And we had originally intended to complete 100 episodes last year, but the
Okay.
power of going on is that you keep going on. And you mark for us the midway point in that goal of reaching 100. So I'm so glad that that you're our special guest. So let me start with where you are at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I love to do is to ask our guests to introduce themselves.
Okay.
Before, of course, I do that, just a little bit of a very micro introduction. We met each other uh, online several years ago. If memory serves me right, it was 2022. Definitely a momentous year in my journey as well. And we've exchanged notes online on the various forums, chat rooms, being there to support each other through this journey. So that was my first introduction. And then, of course, we met last year eventually. And here we are once again in a different environment, back to our digital world. But I'm really glad that you're here. And as I said, this is that point where I'd love for you to share with the audience, what is it that you do today? And tell us a little bit more about what you do today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rahul, for that wonderful introduction. And I want to tell you that I want to say a little bit about you before I go on about me. So Rahul is someone you can remember. First of all, the name Rahul is very memorable, right? But Rahul here, that is hosting the show, is actually pretty memorable because people come into your life for various reasons, right? They come, they
Mm,
stay, they go. I always think of people as passengers in a train.
mm,
Don't mind me, but they have to get off at some time. We
yeah,
cannot
yeah,
have them on our
100%.
journey forever.
Yeah.
But there are some people that you remember on the train.
Mm,
You don't remember everyone because you see so
right,
many people, right?
right.
And I would add you in that category of memorable
Wow,
people, because
wow.
for me, one of my um, accomplishments, I would say, is remembering people's names,
Mm,
because that is something I've struggled with over the years.
right.
And I said, I'm not going to say I can't remember names anymore. I'm
Mm,
changing the narrative. I am going to
mm,
remember names, and every time I
yeah.
remember a name, it's my accomplishment.
Mm,
So you're someone like that, and your comments and the way you light up when you come on, whether it's a conversation, whether we met in
mm,
Zoom rooms, or
mm,
you tend to leave that first
right.
good impression, which is lasting, by the way. So that is something I want to say about you, and I'm
Wow,
pretty
thank you.
happy to have met you. But like our life goes on, we've not been able to stay in touch as much as we
Yeah,
would have, but that
right.
is because we were supposed to meet like this,
Yeah, that's right.
right? So that we
So
could
true.
get on this podcast so that I can
Mm,
really tell you more about me, and we could connect a little
mm,
deeper
yeah,
on this
yeah,
conversation.
nice.
So, having said that, thank you once again for having me on the episode, and it is really honor. I feel honored to be on your 50th episode, and that also on the month of women's celebration.
Mm,
And for me, it's always been about. I don't know. People might find it cheesy,
mm,
but I want to leave a legacy.
mm,
I want to be remembered. Like ever since I came to know who Mother Teresa is when I was in
mm,
eighth grade,
mm,
uh, I saw that she was so kind and she's helping people. And I said, I want to be Mother Teresa, but that is very
wow.
difficult. But
Mm,
at least I can do 1% or one action of what she did, when she was
mm,
alive, which is be kind to people and
right.
inspire them with that kindness,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So I've always been that person. You could always come to me for anything, and I
nice.
would be there for you. I would answer
Mm,
that question, and I would make sure that I put you first. uh,
mm,
Before, it was at the expense of myself, but in the last three
yeah,
years it's a
nice.
learning journey where I've
Yeah,
made
yeah.
sure that I'm a co-pilot. In
Wow.
fact, our mentor
Wow.
said this term, and he said, call yourself a co-pilot, because that is
Mm,
exactly what I do. I'm not at the passenger seat. I'm not instructing you. I'm not a teacher, but I am
mm,
right next to you in the driver's seat.
nice.
Whether it's whatever journey you're going through, I want to be there.
Yeah,
So my
nice.
journey started uh, in coaching, same as you.
Mm,
But that was a time of soul searching,
right.
getting rid of
So
guilt.
I have to do this. If it was not this pod, I wouldn't do it. Okay.
Hmm.
Just to put this into context, and also because this will sort of mark the timeline for people who are watching,
Okay.
and it's a way for them to get to know you better. And that's on purpose why I didn't go down that entire, okay, this is what you've done, these are your awards, and so on and so forth. Maybe in a very very brief nutshell, if you could tell us what is it that you do today, then we will actually. And as I said, I'm like, I'm so curious and keen to know, like, how did you get here. But
Okay.
maybe if you start by telling us, like, so what do you do today? Like, if someone was to say, okay, so Fatima, what do you do today?
What do I do today? So, what I do today is empower professionals to take control of their career, take
Nice.
control of their life as a
Mm,
consequence of taking control of their career. So, I wouldn't call
nice.
myself a life coach, but more of a empowerment coach, a career empowerment
Mm,
coach. And that is
mm,
exactly what I do today. I empower
mm,
individuals, and
mm,
I use certain tools to do them.
mm.
So, this is what I do: empower
Nice.
individuals.
Nice. Yeah. So now that so it's the reason also why I asked this and why I paused you
Mm-hmm.
is because a lot of times when people look at where you are right now in your life, um, they find it difficult to understand that you went through a journey to get here. So they're sort of seeing like the complete, it's like this is who you are right now at the beginning of season two, let's say. So they
Mm-hmm.
don't know what happened in season one to understand that all that went into making you the avatar that they see today. So one of the reasons, one of the motivations behind this podcast is
Yeah.
to help other coaches and especially coaches and healers to be
Mm-hmm.
inspired by watching and listening to your journey where they go, oh, okay, it's not always perfect. There was a time where you were where they are right now, right? It's
Yeah.
like 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. What you were dealing with is what they are dealing with right now.
Yeah.
So it basically inspires them to say, okay, you know what? It doesn't matter how tough things are right now. If Fatima can do it, so can I, right? So tell us a little bit about like how did you arrive here? Like it may be over the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, however far back you feel drawn to sort of say, you know what, my story actually began here, and then we'd come along with you on the journey.
Sure. Uh, my story actually began a long time back, not
Mm,
in 2022 when I started this coaching journey.
mm,
In fact, in 2014 when my father passed away.
wow, yeah,
So at that time, I was in my peak of my career, HR
mm,
professional, hiring
mm,
hundreds of candidates every quarter,
mm,
training,
mm,
having a salary, having a boyfriend, everything,
mhm, mm,
in place. And my father passed away, and I had
mm,
done everything up until that point to ensure that my father had good medical care, and
mm,
my sisters were educated, my mother was taken care of.
mm, mm,
These were my primary goals at that time.
mm,
And this didn't start when I started working. It started when I was in 12th grade, because that is when my father
mm.
actually had a stroke, and he lost his ability to become you know the the breadwinner, like,
Mm,
provide fully for
mm,
the family. So we had to support
yeah.
him right from there, mom,
Mm,
me. We
mm,
started supporting him, and she went through a long journey, and as children we went through a different journey as well.
mm,
But I kind of
mm,
became the number one in the house, of in charge
mm.
of everything. And the focus was, provide and take care of the family and make sure you give everything for
Mm,
them. So, but at that time, when before this could happen, my goals were
mm,
completely different. I wanted to be someone who empowers individuals, because this 12th standard goal arose from, Mother Teresa's inspiration.
mm,
And
mm.
I had a living Mother Teresa in my school, which was my principal.
Wow,
Yeah. So
wow.
everything is like an onion. You just
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
peeling it, and
yes.
you can't really say when exactly is that moment. But I think so, as
Mm,
coaches we have done that research to see where
mm,
exactly that transformation happened for us, so that we can
mm.
guide our community, guide
Right.
our
Yeah.
clients to
Mm,
understand that,
mm,
maybe that wake up call happens somewhere else,
mm,
but
mm,
you just put it on snooze, like you would snooze an
mm,
alarm, right?
mm,
So the alarm
mm.
went off when I was in the 8th grade, and I said I want to be like my principal. I want to
Wow.
inspire individuals. I want to empower them,
Mm,
because uh,
mm,
she would give me pocket money to buy an ice cream, or when I'm going for an excursion,
wow.
I wouldn't have uh, you
Mm,
know what I
mm,
needed to. Everyone would have it, and she'll call me aside and she'll give it to me.
mm,
And I thought, how can someone be this kind? Because at the same time, there were these teachers that I was terrified of. I
mm.
I
True.
was scared of them. I would not go and ask anything.
Mm,
I hated geography.
mm.
Today, if you ask me, I love geography because I love traveling. If someone taught me
Right.
geography in terms of traveling, I would have loved it. If they had to
Mm,
say these are the places you're going to visit, I don't know. The
right.
whole approach was
True.
scared of teachers, because
Mm.
you know I used to be
Yeah.
the outstanding student outside the class. So the journey started way back then, right?
Wow.
So I had to put pause because once my dad was not feeling well, I wanted to
Mm,
support him, and then he came back. He was, a little bit in action for a little bit. Then again, he went back. So constantly, I had to be the one who
mm,
provides, right? So the transformation started happening during those times. Every time I was assisting someone or helping someone
mm,
transform,
mm.
I became like an advocate for helping people to succeed, helping people to move on.
Right.
And
Mm,
when my dad passed away, I felt like nothing made sense,
yeah.
right? Why was I doing all this? Why do we need to work
Mm,
so much? Why am I
mm,
working for an organization? What am I doing? Because there was no purpose attached to it other
yeah.
than the fact to provide, and that is not a really good
Mm,
purpose. Even though family
mm,
is my number one value,
mm,
if there was like, I want to do something to empower my family members or grow along with them,
mm,
there wasn't any purpose to it.
mm,
So I just resigned my job, um, ended a long-term relationship due to other reasons,
mm,
and packed my bags, took my PF
mm,
money from working for 5 years in HCL,
mm.
and just went to Dubai.
Wow.
But the next 3 years was again getting through that
Mm,
depression and getting through that
mm,
loss of not being able to accept that, oh, this is what my identity was, but now I don't want to do this. I don't
mm,
want to be that person. What am I doing? I was searching. I applied for MBAs in top universities. I even got
mm.
selected as a top 10 student for an
Nice.
MBA at
Mm,
Harriet University. Is one of the number one universities in the UK.
mm,
I
mm,
came top 3, and
mm,
they ended up saying you came third, so you didn't get the scholarship. And I was like very dejected. And I was like, I was always searching for
mm,
something more to find that
mm,
validation,
mm, mm,
right? And when I started talking to people like us, solopreneurs, coaches, I realized that I was more than enough.
mm.
I was what I needed. And I kept
Right.
ignoring myself all these years
Mm,
because if I want to be able to provide for my family, if I want to be able to
mm.
inspire, I need to be okay. I
Right.
need to be at my 100%, right?
Right.
And
Right.
during those times, I never shared anybody. Nobody knows my darkest
Mm,
days. Nobody knows that I've
mm,
cried, or nobody knows I'm upset because I always have to be that strong person.
mm, mm.
I have to put on that mask so that everyone around me doesn't feel that way. I don't
Yeah.
upset them or I don't
Mm,
make them feel any less.
right.
So when I started realizing that I'm okay to show my emotions,
Mm.
that is when the true transformation started.
Wow.
Yeah, 2018 was when I started my first podcast.
Wow.
In fact, it was aligned with women entrepreneurs,
Mm,
and I called the podcast Women Empowering Women, Pass the Baton On. So, literally, pass the baton on.
mm,
So, what I felt was, as women, we didn't have a lot of people telling us, you can do this. There was
mm,
always, you need something to do this, you need
mm,
someone to do this,
mm,
right? There was always this validation
mm,
factor which was in front of you. So
mm,
you couldn't really move forward because you're like, okay, I need this MBA to do
mm,
this. I need this
mm.
CIPD. I spent like 20,000 dirhams on a CIPD degree,
Wow.
which I realized they're telling me everything that I already know. But I had to get that, because
Mm,
again, that was a validation. I was like, I could
right.
have invested that money on something else. I could have traveled, I could have done extra coaching,
Mm,
I could have got a mentor. But again, this is because of the
mm,
expectations that have been set
mm,
on us. I think I don't know whether we should blame the education system, the
mm,
society, but the
mm,
blame game will go on like a
mm,
vicious loop. So I've
mm.
stopped blaming as well,
Right.
right? And I've started
Mm,
taking responsibility for how I
mm,
feel, how I act, and how I react.
mm,
And this is where decided that time in 2018, I decided I want to be like this person. There was one person. I said, I want to be
mm,
like her, Kathy Caprino. She was like a leading career empowerment coach. And I said, I want to be like
mm,
Kathy. I want to be on a stage. I want to talk to hundreds of people. I want to inspire thousands of students.
mm.
And, you know, in God's grace, I have inspired over 3,500 students till
Wow.
date.
Amazing.
but it's because of that intention that I
Right.
said that day I want to be like her. And before I thought I needed something to be like her, but when I started talking to
Mm,
these entrepreneurs, and I think so it's important that people look at these people what they're going through, like this podcast
mm,
that you have, the intention of it for people to understand what really goes
yeah.
on in
Yeah.
the journey, right?
Mm,
But people are not ready to even say this. It's only
mm,
now podcasts have come up, and otherwise you had to go and take a book, a personal
yeah.
development book, or you had to
Yeah.
go for a coaching session.
True.
And I mean, who used to go for coaching sessions back then, right?
Yeah.
So I
True.
came to know about depression only when Deepika Padukone said she was depressed.
Yes.
And I was like, Deepika
That's true.
Padukone, you're depressed. That means even I was depressed. I didn't know I
Mm,
was depressed.
yeah. Yeah. True.
She was instrumental.
True.
I love her because she
Mm,
was instrumental in bringing this awareness that
mm,
as women, it's okay
mm,
for us to
mm,
feel a certain way. And it's
mm.
okay to go through those emotions that we go through in our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the trigger
Amazing.
point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like I said, and that's the reason why I wanted to sort of frame it so people understand that the person they see today, like you said, you've affected the lives of more than 3,500 people. That's like the numbers that and obviously when you
No,
multiply that across their families, you literally double and quadruple the actual impact, if you want to call it that, right? But a lot of times we miss this, which is all these moments in our lives are what shaped us into the person that we are today,
absolutely.
right? So I mean, it's such a powerful story, as the way you've shared it with us, and I'm sure even as people are listening to this, it will make them realize that what, doesn't matter what you're going through right now, things only get better, right?
They will. They
So
will.
yeah, 100%, right? It's that intent. So you've touched on a couple of subjects, and let's see what pops up at this point. um, you've shared some of the incidents also where you kind of made decisions, and all of that led you to the place where not just 1,000 people, but as you said, like in your mind, you've
Mhm.
like gone, what is it, 3x that, like from 1,000 to over 3,000 people who have been positively impacted by what you had sort of said, I want to be like her, right?
Yeah.
um, when you kind of look back, are there maybe, let's say, one or two very very core pivotal moments
Mhm.
that you recall now, where you're like, I'm glad that this happened, because of that I am who I am today?
Well, a lot of things are there, like I said,
mm,
but if you ask me, this coaching and
mm,
training, I have been doing it even before 2022 when I was
mm,
working in HCL as a trainer, as a
mm,
courses trainer,
mm,
when I was working as a HR, of course,
mm,
we're doing it on the job, but
mm,
intentionally,
mm,
purpose drivenly, this is my intention. I want to empower
mm,
individuals. The trigger for this was because of my father's death. Because
mm,
I was so upset that he was such a talented man.
mm,
Yes, the sickness got the best of him, but I always thought, why didn't he shine in his career?
mm,
He had a good career, but he didn't. Like
mm,
I said, all of us have that 10x ability to
mm,
give,
mm,
but there was no one to tell my father that he had these 10x
mm,
abilities, right? If my
mm,
father would walk into a room, people would listen.
mm,
He would get the attention of the room. He'll be like, they'll be like, sir's talking, wait, you know.
mm,
And he can get anybody. He can close any deal. He can
mm,
convince anybody. Such a good negotiator, such a good
mm,
speaker. But he never used all those skills.
mm,
He had a boring job with a
mm,
boring purpose in it, which didn't really facilitate his health goals.
mm,
Therefore, he fell sick on that job, and
mm,
therefore he had the stroke, and therefore 10 years he suffered, and then he died.
mm, mm,
And I'm like, no one should go through this.
mm,
No one should die without their potential being
mm,
unused.
mm,
So I said I want to untap potential,
mm,
not just find potential, which is what I do as a HR
mm,
professional.
mm,
I didn't say this, but I am a
mm,
HR professional
mm,
by my job
mm,
title,
mm,
a CIPD trained level five
mm,
HR. But I used to find talent.
mm,
Tell
mm,
me if he's in Shara Desert in some corner, I'll find him.
mm,
That's how I can find talent. But I was not happy finding talent
mm,
because I felt like I was empowering somebody else, not that individual. Even though I was getting him a job, even though I was getting
mm.
him a good salary, all those things said and done, I'm pushing him
Mm.
back into that same vicious loop.
Right, right.
And that loop is where my father was stuck. And that is why he
Mm,
didn't have health goals. And that is why. So I
mm,
always go back to why my father didn't do this, right?
right.
And because if he did all those things, he'll be there with us today,
Mm,
right? And I said, no, this is what the deciding factor is. I want to
mm,
untap potential. And that is what triggered the podcast, triggered my self
mm,
development journey,
mm,
my healing journey. I had to heal first. I had to
mm,
heal parts of me which were not ready to accept that, oh, you had so much of talent, you had all
mm,
this, why you didn't use it? Oh my God,
mm,
it's so late. Why have you
mm,
delayed it so much? Look at
mm.
this person, he's probably half educated than you. Like, it's not as an offense, but these are
Sure.
the negative things
Mm,
that come in your
mm,
head.
mm,
He's probably can't speak as good as you, but still he's been doing these things. So, and I'm like, it's not about that. It's about when I
mm,
am ready.
mm,
When I am ready to inspire that change. Because if you look at me now, I
mm,
want you to be able to do what I'm saying, not because
mm,
of I've done it, but
mm,
because you realize that it's going to help you. It's going to
mm,
unleash your potential. It's going to
mm,
unleash your talent, and thereby it's going to create a ripple effect.
mm,
I always say if a woman is empowered, her family is empowered. If her family is
mm,
empowered, her
mm,
community is empowered. Her community
mm.
is empowered, the society, and
Yeah,
therefore the country,
yeah,
right?
true.
And that is why, even though I love all men,
Mm-hmm.
women need
Yeah,
that push.
100%. Yeah.
We need that push.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we don't know
Mm.
that we are actually capable
Yeah,
of these
yeah,
things.
yeah.
So that's
Right.
that's your answer there.
Mm,
Where exactly that moment of
mm,
realization happened
yeah.
is when my father passed away, and I
Mm,
realized that I don't want another Philip Williams
mm,
to be gone from this earth without leaving his impact as a person,
right.
apart from his own family and friends
Sure.
circle, you
Mm,
know, beyond that a little bit.
mm, mm. Nice. So something else that you talked about, which I'm sure healers and coaches have heard enough about, but it's never enough, right? Which
Hmm.
is in this world that we live in, it's something that we call the learning journey,
Yeah.
right? So you talked about two parts. One is the learning journey and the healing journey. So can you take us along with you? Like, what was that like? Because anybody who sees you today and who had not heard about your journey so far would not be able to believe that, wow, you went through all of this, because the way you project yourself, there is that, there's that strength, and there's an ease and a calmness about you that they would never be able to guess that, oh, you actually had all of this in your past, right? So obviously, you've absorbed and you've integrated a lot of the work that you've been doing, especially like you said, since 2022 and then all the way into now 2025.
Yeah.
So, in your words, if you can walk us through, what was that journey like for you these
The
last
healing
two,
journey.
3 years? Mm,
So the healing
yeah,
journey, not the learning journey, right?
sure, sure.
So the healing journey started only when I accepted that I needed help.
Mm,
Up until that time, no matter what I
mm,
tried, I couldn't heal
mm,
because there was a phase of denial which was going
mm,
on, and I had to let that person. I'm like, shut up! I don't
mm,
need you anymore.
mm,
Rest in peace. Go along. That part of me had to die. Had
mm,
to, like kind of calm down because otherwise I
mm,
was not able to heal. And the healing started only when I started to talk to people. And
mm,
since I couldn't talk to my own family because I have to be that
mm,
strong person,
Mm.
Since I couldn't talk to my friends because that's the fun factor,
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
go to them with my vulnerabilities because,
Mm.
right now I think so friendship has become
Mm.
in a way where you don't go tell your friend like I don't have food at home or something like that, right?
Mm.
You
Mm.
don't tell those ugly sides of
Mm.
you because you want that moment with your friend to be your friendship moment, that time when
Mm.
you're happy with your friend, when you can chill out.
Mm.
So I couldn't discuss this with my friends, I couldn't
Mm.
discuss this with my family.
Mm.
I tried discussing it with my partner that I was trying to date, and that was a failure. He started
Mm.
taking advantage of that
Mm.
situation. So I said, no, that's a bad idea. I can't tell my partner also.
Mm.
So then I said, okay, what can I do?
Mm.
I took a pen and I took
Mm.
a book and I held on to that book. I started
Wow.
pouring out pages on
Wow.
pages on the book.
Wow.
And this I had done way back, even when I was in school, but I had stopped that habit. Over the
Right.
years, when I got into
Yeah.
the corporate, I
Yeah.
stopped that habit.
Mm.
Right, and I started writing, and when I started writing, then I came on to LinkedIn. I was more active on LinkedIn. I saw
Mm.
these people writing articles
Mm.
relevant to healing, relevant
Mm.
to all of this. I go and I used to comment, and I made such amazing friends,
Mm.
very very accomplished people who travel all over the world. And I thought, okay,
Mm.
I started living and seeing through their eyes.
Mm.
Like I've met people who've gone through cancer, who've lost their father as well. There's
Mm.
someone called Cindy Wilkins. I'd like to mention her. She's my soul sister online.
Mm.
We went through when I was going through this journey. I started writing about my father online.
Mm.
Right, I used to do
Wow.
dedications on his death
Wow.
anniversary, on his birthday. So people
Mm.
used to comment, and that comments were my tablets to heal.
Mm.
I was
Wow.
like, okay, I'm not alone.
Mm.
There are people
Mm.
going through worse than me.
Mm.
I've been strong.
Mm.
I'm a strong person. I have that resilience. I didn't know I have this resilience.
Mm.
And these are the things that helped me heal. And I made such good connections that I
Mm.
started looking at all this right during that time. All of
Right.
this was like a seed planted,
Mm.
which
Mm.
blossomed, 3 years back.
Mm.
But the nurturing of the soil underneath, you would say, right? The
Mm.
metaphor is there where they show you the
Mm.
tree and the soil underneath.
Mm.
So these are the things that were happening. Me
Mm.
reaching out to unknown people because they
Wow.
cannot judge me, and if they judge me, I don't care.
Mm.
Right? So that factor of I'm not even going to meet that person.
Right.
So that gave me that breather to
Mm.
share my vulnerabilities.
Mm.
And when I shared my vulnerabilities, I started to heal.
Wow.
I'm not saying everybody can do this, but
Mm.
you have to do it in
Mm.
a safe space. And
Correct.
I found that safe space in a
Mm.
community online.
Mm. Mm.
I didn't post it like on just on Google or
Mm.
Quora. People also do that,
Mm.
but this here I found that community of people who I knew that I could trust, who would not
Right.
take advantage of my
Mm.
situation. And
Mm.
I shared that, and every time someone commented, every time someone shared their journey, they told me you can do this. They started to give me some ideas about how they have gone through. And the
Mm.
best part is no one told you should do this.
Mm. Nice.
No one told you should do this. And I was like,
Mm.
huh, this is something new. All my
Mm.
life, people have told me, you should do this, you should do this.
Right.
Who are these people? And I started learning about them. I
Mm.
am a person that if I love you, I
Mm.
will know everything about you.
Mm.
Right? So I started researching. I'll get them on a call. I'll say, hey, I'd like to interview you. I'll set up a podcast.
Mm.
I'll talk to that person and I'll dig deep in a very professional way, though. But because
Mm.
I want to learn what was that
Mm.
factor that helped them, because I want to see if that will help me.
Mm.
And these are the things that help me heal.
Wow.
Every interview, every conversation, every supporting comment online,
Mm.
it started to help me heal.
Mm. Wow. Right. Wow. That's it's so unique. In all these years, this is the first time that I'm hearing, and the way you've shared it
Mhm.
makes it so unique, because we talk about like write a blog or whatever, but just the way that you've had this experience, it very, very powerful. And obviously it's something that worked for you, and that sort of snowballed into, as you said, you reached out to them and you've interviewed them and built those connections over time. um, Now as you look back at it, like what would you tell somebody who's maybe going through something difficult right now, and especially for people who are who some have some, let's say they have an idea that they want to be healers, they want to be coaches, they want to help other people. That's one of the noblest and yet one of the most difficult vocations, if I can say that. um,
More like
and part of
challenging.
that is where you will, and I'm saying it's difficult in that you're telling yourself that you're always going to stay open, because
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing that you're able to help more people, right? But that also means that you're going to be more vulnerable, which means you're going to hide away less,
Yes.
right? Otherwise, for most people, they can hide away because they don't have to do anything. They're just going about their life and regular job and survival, and no, not knocking it in any way. I'm just saying
Mm-hmm.
that's a choice people make. But when
Yeah.
people have decided that, what, I am going to be of service to other people, as you said almost at the very beginning of our pod here, you said it's only when I'm my true self, it's only when I open myself up can I be of service to other people, right? So that's why I'm saying for people who are intending to continue,
Mm-hmm.
right, healing is a very very important part of that process. So is there something that you'd like to share with them, because you did what you did and it worked for you? Is there something that you'd like to share from this which can help them, like, hey, you know what, if you're going through this, I would say do this and this and this, because I did it and I know that I'm so much the wiser because of it.
So, what I'd like to say is the healing never stops.
Mm.
This is not Maggie noodles. Doesn't happen in 2 minutes.
Mm,
Because the minute you accept that, you have given yourself room to grow,
mm,
room to heal while you grow.
mm,
So you
mm,
don't need to halt your growth like I did for all
mm.
those years because I had no
Right.
knowledge that
Correct.
this could happen. I didn't have the right support system until I
Mm,
met that online community and until I met those coaches, until I met those
mm,
people that I said, oh, okay. So I didn't know. So now that
mm.
you know, you don't have to say, I have to heal first, then I have to grow
Right.
first, then I have to serve
Mm,
first.
mm,
You can do this like a plant would in a flower pot, right?
mm,
But only thing is you need to keep changing the flower pot.
mm. Wow.
Don't forget that.
That's beautiful. Let me just pause you here because that's very powerful. Can you say it again?
I said you need to keep changing the flower pot because like a flower or a plant that you grow, the healing happens in stages.
Mm,
So when you're a sapling, you are okay to be in a small pot, right?
mm.
But as you go into a little bit of a adult plant,
Right.
you need to change the pot because if you don't change the pot, you need to change the surrounding of people.
Wow.
You need to change the information that you are getting
Wow.
in,
Right.
right? Because when you
Mm-hmm.
change the pot, you're allowing yourself to heal and
Yeah.
you're allowing yourself to open up and grow.
Mm, mm,
I actually heard this analogy in some film or I don't know in
mm,
a series
mm.
where one person just changed. He was like, why is this plant not growing? And he was like, okay,
Mm,
let me just buy a different flower pot. But when he
mm.
went there was only a big flower pot, so he just got the bigger one. And then
Right.
he put this flower pot. He took out the thing and put it
Mm,
into the bigger flower pot, and he forgot all about it. Of course, he
right.
watered it and all. Then one day
Mm.
he saw, and he's like, wow, it's growing so beautifully, right?
Mm.
You need that realization that
Right.
sometimes some people they
Mm,
have to leave you for a while.
mm,
You don't need to permanently leave them. Like when I
mm.
say leave them, also you can leave them and come to the next room.
Right.
You don't need to leave them and
Yeah.
permanently
Yeah.
go away, but
Yeah.
you need to create that space for yourself
Mm.
to heal. That is
Wow.
important in the healing
Wow.
journey.
Wow. That's a serious. It's like pixie dust. Is so powerful what you said, and you said it literally in the flow. That's why I said, no, no, let me just pause you here and just kind of like wrap on it because that's very, very powerful. So, since we're talking about people who may already, let's say, the people that you work with,
Mm-hmm.
they're primarily people who are, let's say, already in a job, right? And
Yeah.
they're looking to continue, and maybe may or may not be, but there's a possibility that they're also thinking of maybe doing coaching on the side, but they continue to do the work that they're doing that pays the bills until they reach a point where they're like, okay, now I can do coaching full time, and now I no longer need the support of my job, which used to be my primary source of income, right? Let's just sort of play that scenario out.
Okay.
So that's one kind of people. There are others who you probably work with who are just only focused on getting a better job or getting better at their job, right? In either case, give us a sense of what happens behind what's it they say, behind the scenes, right?
Behind the
So
scenes,
it's
yeah.
like, if we were to sort of be a fly on the wall and be watching and listening to you as you're working with these people,
Mm-hmm.
what typically happens when you work with these people, especially when it's one on one?
I love the fact that you said intention in the beginning of this
Hmm.
podcast, because
Hmm.
the foundation of my own whole growth
Hmm.
started uh, during all those times that I said, but I started reading this book called Man's Search for Meaning in Life by
Hmm.
Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
And I was blown away
Hmm.
at how someone could hold on to that factor that he wanted to share, that whatever he, the knowledge he has, or whatever that, uh, how he can help people, he wanted to share that, right? That
Hmm.
was one of the things, apart from the hope of seeing his family again,
Hmm.
that he wanted this information to be passed on. He didn't want to
Hmm.
die
Hmm.
before that. That is like one
Hmm.
of the core messages of the book. And I learned of the term called intentionality.
Hmm.
So intentionality is nothing but developing the characteristics that you
Hmm.
need to achieve those goals, and
Hmm.
therefore you need those desires, and therefore you need those habits.
Hmm.
So an entire character development, right?
Hmm.
But that is centered around your goals, your desires, your habits. So that is
Hmm.
intentionality.
Hmm. Hmm.
So my coaching program, what I do is
Hmm.
having a foundation of intentionality. So I will lure them with the fancy tools of LinkedIn branding, get a
Right.
job in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days.
Hmm.
Lure them as in attract them, not
Hmm.
cheat them.
Hmm. Hmm.
But once they come in,
Hmm.
but before they even become a member, I tell them you have to do everything I say.
Hmm.
Do you trust me? If you don't trust me, don't work with me. And I would
Hmm.
build that trust. I would show them case studies of people
Hmm.
who have done it. So I'm not telling you to jump in the well.
Hmm.
I'm telling you to do something which has been done before. Does
Hmm.
that sound fair enough?
Hmm.
And I also check if we are a right fit for each other,
Hmm.
because if you don't respect me, you cannot learn from me, you cannot
Hmm.
follow my advice, right? If you are not open to coaching, then I cannot coach you, right?
Hmm.
So all these factors are there. And once I do that, I take them through a small process called intentionality. It's
Hmm.
the foundation coaching,
Hmm.
similar to setting a foundation that everybody
Hmm.
do in their program.
Hmm.
And then once that's done, and that involves a lot of journaling,
Hmm.
that involves developing the habit of meditation, even if you've never meditated in your life
Hmm.
before. I
Hmm.
would literally tell them to just sit down, close your eyes, and even if you can't meditate, just listen to that 30 minutes of music, you know.
Hmm.
And there was one person who had never done it before, and today he loves meditation.
Hmm.
In fact, he even decided that he's not going to find a job anymore, and he went on to become a leadership and transformation coach.
Nice.
He got interviewed by the Finance Times in Dubai.
Nice.
And when I look back, and I'm so proud, like a mother beaming at her child graduating, I'm so proud because I don't need them to get those results immediately, but I just need them to
Hmm.
understand that no
Hmm.
matter LinkedIn, your resume, your profile, your Instagram, Facebook
Hmm.
marketing ads, whatever you do,
Mm.
If you have not done that intentionality foundation,
Mm.
you have not sat down to
Mm.
develop the character of that person that you want to
Mm.
become, your future self.
Mm.
So you think, I love Dr. Benjamin Hardy, is one of my mentors. And Dr. Benjamin Hardy says that become your future self will
Mm.
help you to achieve those goals that you want to achieve in the future now.
Mm. Yeah.
So let's say now I'm working on a book. Okay. I've already given like a soft shout out, but
Nice.
I'll tell you again, I'm working on a book.
Nice.
And that book is literally about what I've been doing over the years, right?
Mm.
Like I've put my talent on a hold. I need this, I need that, I need this, I need
Mm.
that. And then one day I just started doing everything, and I earned like 1 years of income in 1 month once.
Nice.
So I was like, this is what I'm talking about, untapping
Mm.
talent. This is what I'm talking about, empowering individuals, right?
Mm.
And the book that I'm writing, I'd like to say the name. It's called The Master Procrastinators.
Mm.
So literally, we are all procrastinators, whether you say it or
Right.
not.
Right.
But we are also masters
Mm.
of whatever
Mm.
trait or whatever skill or whatever things that we love to do.
Mm.
And because you procrastinate, you don't need
Mm.
to sabotage your growth, you don't need to stall your growth, you don't need to
Mm.
feel like that this is all, needs, you need something or someone to help you to grow,
Right.
right?
Mm.
So yeah, so this whole journey will start only when you develop the intention that you
Mm.
need to become your future self. And another thing
Mm.
that will help you here is mental contrasting. Again, this is by Dr.
Mm.
Benjamin Hardy. Mental contrasting is nothing but every time you feel that you're inadequate, or you can't
Mm.
get there, or you can't do this, just look back at the time that you've had a small win.
Mm.
Look back at the time that you've achieved something in your life.
Mm.
It might be as simple as finishing your 12th standard,
Mm.
finishing your graduation, or it might be as simple as being alive today.
Mm.
Somebody else did not get up, they
Correct.
didn't have today, we had today,
Mm.
right? So
Mm.
these, when you start comparing the wins and say, okay, I am now, I have the positive advantage, right? Because I live
Mm.
another day,
Mm.
or I've achieved this already before, so I just
Mm.
need to implement those strategies to apply it here
Mm.
wherever I'm going to do it. So you start developing those characters of your future self, and then you be
Mm.
that person.
Mm.
So an example I will give you is when I resigned my HR full-time role.
Mm.
um, the reason why I resigned is because I, like all dedicated employees that are listening
Mm.
each and watching this show, you give and give and give, but you are at the end of the day someone who can be easily replaced by the system,
Mm.
right?
True.
So I helped this company grow and build, and we were making revenue. During COVID, they reduced the salaries. I okay, COVID gave them a leverage, but we were still making money. Still, they didn't increase the salary. And then
Mm.
one day when I questioned this, I said, people need money, the staff need money. They said, oh no, but your salary is so high. And I'm like, they didn't want to get back to my original salary because
Mm.
it was high, apparently. They realized this only during the COVID time.
Wow.
And I'm like, hey, I've been giving like 10x or 20x of revenue than my salary every month. So what is the problem? And I realized that I
Mm.
could be easily, the metaphor I would use here is thrown away like a used mask.
Mm.
Like a used mask, I could be easily replaced. And when I realized that, I
Mm.
said, okay, no, I want to go ahead and do this. I want to start this
Mm.
transformation journey. I want to start this coaching journey.
Mm.
And I started my whole, I put my foot down and said, but yes,
Mm.
of course, I had to save up money. I saved up money like for 6 months. And
Mm.
then I started doing freelance recruitment projects to keep the
Mm.
revenue running in the
Mm.
background. I would tell you that you need to keep yourself financially stable to do what you love.
Right.
Otherwise, you would get burnt out.
Mm. Right. Awesome. So, as you said, there's a lot of, from what you're saying, there's a lot of depth in, as you're inviting people and saying, hey, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever the way be. But that's just the start point, and then of
Yeah,
course the focus is on really being able to ask those difficult questions, and difficult at first, but eventually it becomes part of their nature, right?
yeah,
Things like, even if it's things like mindfulness, stillness,
yeah.
amongst many other frames that you're using. The other thing I wanted to also check in with you on, Fatima, was when it comes to working with groups,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because especially for healers and coaches, it's like eventually you will want to be able to do both, right?
Yeah.
Not only work one on one with people, but also work with people in groups. So could you share a little bit about what happens in, say, your community, or um, with the groups that you work with? Like, how do you typically do your programs?
So right now I have a very close knit group. I haven't gone big time on community. Like
Mm,
maybe it's maximum four to no minimum four to maximum 10 people in a room.
mm,
I want to keep that intimacy in the
mm,
group.
mm,
But yeah, so in terms of what we do is we go through
mm,
intentionality, and then we
mm,
do the whole branding of their profile,
mm,
reframing that entire
mm,
narrative,
mm.
and position yourself as your future self now.
Right.
So when I wanted to start coaching, like I think I slipped off and went into something, but I was
Mm,
trying to say this. I quit my job. All those things happened,
mm,
and I put myself there out as a coach. I changed my title because I was anyways a coach and trainer, so I didn't have a problem to
mm,
announce it to the world, right?
mm,
So I just announced career coach, trainer, resume
mm,
writer, whatever that is, those
mm,
titles. I put up my services on LinkedIn
mm,
because LinkedIn is my go-to platform.
mm,
I have over 22,000 newsletter subscribers, and
mm. Nice.
what I have learned is if you put that intention out there, like you say, and like we do in our community, that opportunity will automatically come to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It's just that you must be ready.
Mm,
You cannot say, "Oh, I want to become this tomorrow, so tomorrow I will do this." If
mm,
you want to become this tomorrow, today itself you should have all the tools, the resources. You should also be, let's say tomorrow you're saying I should pick up your blazer, what are you going to wear, how are you going to look, everything should be done today itself. Every planning
mm,
should be done today, and you should know exactly what you're wearing, what you're going to do in that situation.
mm,
What you're going to speak, it's okay, it will come. You're talented, you
mm,
have the skill, you have the expertise, you don't have to worry about that.
mm,
All you have to do is prepare yourself, like preparing that flower pot for that plant,
mm,
right? You need to
mm.
prepare the flower pot and keep it ready
Nice.
when you're in the other flower pot, so that when
Right.
the journey is ready you can immediately transfer yourself
Correct.
to the next
Yeah.
environment.
Nice.
So this is what we do in our community as well.
Mm.
So I put myself there as a career coach, and my first big client was University of Dubai,
Wow.
and I'm walking in with students who are probably you know super talented, super
Mm.
smart, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say? But when I walked out of that room, everyone was so
Mm.
happy. The lecturer, she came and said,
Mm.
you know, we thought you're going to do the usual resume and all of
Mm.
this, and you came and talked about things that we've never been thought about,
Mm.
which is important when you start your
Right.
career journey.
Yeah.
I talked about purpose, I talked about ikigai, I
Mm.
talked about intentionality, I talked
Mm.
about my dream career blueprint, and they were blown away with that thing. And I felt that sense of accomplishment.
Mm.
And this is exactly what I tell my community to do. I tell them to start announcing themselves as that person. So if you're a
Mm.
senior project manager and you want to be a director, your
Mm.
CV will reflect what you can do as a director. But of course, you should
Mm.
have done those tasks as a director.
Mm.
So
Mm.
some people do senior manager roles and they do acting director roles, but they can't put that
Mm.
on their resume, right?
Correct.
So they know all
Mm.
the jobs of a acting
Mm.
director, but
Mm.
they still position themselves as a senior manager. So they will not
Mm.
get a director role because
Mm.
when I look at your CV, I'm looking at senior manager. So
Mm.
you need to make your CV look like director so that I can hire you for a director.
Mm.
And that's the same thing for coaches and healers as well. You need to position yourself as that person that you want to help people with,
Mm.
so that I know that I can come and ask you. Like if
Mm.
I decide I want to do hypnosis, let's say, or healing related to hypnosis, I know you now,
Mm,
right? And I am okay with the idea of exploring it because I know
mm,
you.
mm.
Otherwise, I'm not okay to explore it,
Yeah,
right? Because I
yeah,
don't know what it is at the
true,
depth, right? I
true,
only know it
true.
superficially. I only
Mm.
know it like what is done in the movies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't
yep.
know. But the minute
Mm,
you start advertising and you start telling
mm,
me, like you've invited me into your community, you said,
mm.
Fatima, come for my one of my events and see what I'm doing. So now when I come, I would know what exactly you're
Yes,
doing.
that's
And
right.
let's say if this is something that I want to explore, then I know, okay, I
Mm,
can explore. So without
that's right.
knowing, it's like a GPS map in your hand,
Mm,
but you're not using it.
mm.
And you are
Yeah.
that GPS map. You are that person who has to present everything that you
Mm,
have to the person so that they could take what they need and
right.
get that benefit that they want. And if
Mm,
that's truly your intention,
mm,
if you're not doing that, there is
mm.
someone out there who needs your help and they're not getting it right now.
True. So true. Wow.
That is my key
No, that's
key
very,
message
very,
here.
very insightful and very heartfelt because you're obviously speaking from personal experience. You're obviously also speaking from having seen people be a certain way,
Yeah.
and you're sort of drawing from that and sharing. That's why I said it's very, very powerful. Uh, on the
Thank
question
you.
of community,
Yeah.
there's a slightly different angle which I'm sure will help people, uh, especially people who are healers and coaches, or considering, maybe, I've been on the healing journey, maybe now I want to start helping more people, because that's, from what I've seen, typically that's the the milestones, where initially someone may start just by focusing on themselves, and then they realize that, okay, this is so good, other people also need this, and maybe I'm that person. Based on my experiences, if I can heal, I can, help other people heal. And for most of us who are in this space of healing and coaching, it sort of becomes part of the journey, right?
Yeah.
So what I'd love for you to share is, what has your experience been as far as the role that community has played in your growth? One part is where you're building your community at your pace. The
Mm-hmm.
other is where you yourself as a community member, right? Like, in simple terms, like, how has community helped you on your journey? That's the question.
Community has helped me similar to the example I gave in the podcast.
Mm,
Right, when I started talking to these women who were
mm,
doing coaching and training, I
mm,
realized that I can do these things. I realized
mm,
that they are also normal human beings who have
mm.
normal things that happen in their life. They are not like god or goddesses.
Yeah,
Like when we
true.
see these influencers and experts, we think that
Mm,
everything is because they don't show that
right.
other side
Yeah.
of them where the transformation goes through.
Mm,
And community will help you see that transformation.
mm,
Community will help you see that side of you which you don't want to see.
mm.
So let's say that you're a person
Wow.
who doesn't want to accept that you're wrong at something, or you don't want to accept that you're bad at something, you don't want to accept that you don't know something. There will be someone in the community
Mm,
who's humble enough, who's kind enough, who's beautiful inside their heart, who's ready to accept it.
mm.
And when you look at that person, you'll be like, if that person can accept it and if that person can be vulnerable like that,
Wow.
who am I? Am I the president or what?
Mm.
I can definitely be that person. I can definitely be vulnerable. And
Mm.
it's not like anyone is ragging this person or making fun of them. We are
Correct.
all running and hugging and supporting that person. I want that
Yeah.
hugs. I want that support.
Right.
So
True.
now
So
you
true.
have that space to be vulnerable. That
Wow.
is what community would do for you. And that is exactly, even though I was writing online, that was a community, an online
Mm.
community,
Oh yeah.
which was virtual. But here
Yeah.
what you are doing is you're bringing people into a room like this, like how you and I are talking, and each of us can see our faces.
Mm.
I can see your face, you can see my face. It's not like I'm hiding behind a mask,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And what is there to hide,
Mm.
right? The ugly
Mm.
sides of you
Mm.
need to die in order to allow the beautiful side
Mm.
to grow. Like you would cut
Mm.
out
Correct.
dry leaves from a plant, you would
Right.
chop out those parts of
Yeah.
it so that you can allow that plant to grow,
True.
right? It's just
Yeah.
because you want to not people not to see that ugly
Mm.
side of you. what you are doing is you're deliberately doing a self sabotage.
Mm.
And we've been taught to self sabotage from
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
It's been taught in schools. We're paying fees to learn this.
Mhm.
So stop doing that. Okay, stop
Right.
sabotaging
Wow.
yourself. Don't listen to all those voices that told you that, oh no, you can't say to people that you failed, or you can't tell people you made
Right.
a mistake. Tell people you made a mistake. Tell people you
Mm.
failed. Like,
You have to be perfect.
you don't have to be perfect.
That's right.
That is one of the reasons my growth was stalled all these years,
Mm.
because I had to be this perfect person that I've created in my
Yeah.
family's image. I
Yeah.
had to be this perfect person that I've created in my friend's image. I couldn't show my vulnerabilities, and
Mm.
that had delayed my growth all
Mm.
those years. I could have started doing this way back.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I didn't do this because of that fact of not being ready
Mm.
to accept that side of me that
Mm.
needed to go. So
Mm.
you need to accept
Amazing.
that, and you need to let go, and you need to, and the only way you can do this, I would say, I'm
Mm.
sorry to say that this is the only
Mm.
way,
Mm.
because it's the most quickest way also. Not the
Mm.
only way. I'll correct myself. uh, you can do it like I did with a book, right, and all that, but it's a more longer journey. And
Mm.
again, there isn't a physical support system that you would
Mm.
get, right?
Mm.
Because that was
Mm.
also a little bit of lonely journey.
Yeah.
But the minute I started getting someone, even if it's
Mm.
one person, more than enough.
Mm.
Just be ready to share to that person and ask them for that help,
Mm.
and pick a person with the same belief system and value system like you, that has the same goals like you, right? Don't be thinking that, oh, this person is a competitor. Nobody is a competitor,
Mm.
because how I coach my community and how you coach your community are
Yeah.
completely
So
different.
true. So true.
And we cannot be competitors. Even if we put both of
Mm.
us in a room, the person who wants to
Yeah.
work with me will come to
Yeah.
me only,
Exactly.
and the person who wants to work with you will come with you only, because, like Sid says, your
Mm-hmm.
vibe attracts your tribe.
Mm.
So no
True.
matter what decorations I do, what offers I do, I put even 0% offer also, your customer will not come to me.
Yeah.
The person you need to help will not be ready to get help from me.
True. True.
And that is why I say, you need to check for the right fit.
Mm.
Even with the
So true.
person that you are sharing your
Mm.
vulnerabilities, they have to be the
Mm.
right fit. They have to not
True.
be a person that will judge you tomorrow or say
Yeah.
these things, right?
Yeah.
Like i
Yeah.
had i had experienced that in my journey.
Mm.
Actually, there was someone who I shared these things, and then
Mm.
tomorrow in a conversation they'll say, oh, you did this, right? And I'll be like, that was not supposed to be discussed in this
Mm.
situation,
True.
so you need to also pick
Confidence. Yeah.
your,
Yeah.
like they say, choose your enemies wisely. Like I'm saying, choose your uh, competitors also. They have to be someone who are with your same values, but they're not your
Mm.
competitors. Rather than forget the word competition, I'm going to
Mm.
go with Sid's new word,
Mm.
collaboration.
Mm. Yeah.
Collaboration is the key.
True.
It's
Very true.
how we are going to go forward in our community, and that's
Mm.
the only way humanity will be existing for another,
Mm.
I don't know, eon of years, if we
Mm.
collaborate. If we're
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
backstabbing or being
Mm.
competitive, we're going to face that situation where
Mm.
even if you go back home, you won't have a peaceful night's sleep,
Mm.
right? That's how I felt in my HR job.
True. Yeah.
So I would love
True.
to
Very true.
do my HR job again, but
Mm.
only with the people who have the same values. Like right now, I've been
Mm.
approached by someone I'm
Mm.
very good friends with, and she said, "Hey, Fatima, I want to do recruitment with you." I said, "Absolutely," because, and the
Mm.
best part of being a coach is you have 2 days for your community,
Mm.
right? You have one day for your inner circle call, and then
Mm.
one-to-one coachings mostly happen in the evening. So you
Mm.
have all that time,
Yeah.
right? I've been
True.
working on that time with spending time with my mom, quality time with my mom,
Mm.
traveling to colleges, training
Mm.
students, working
Nice.
on my book, and developing my course and curriculum. So I've
Mm.
been using that extra time to do that.
Nice.
So now that
Mm.
you approach me, I said I am in,
Yeah.
because I love hiring
Yeah.
people. That is something I
Yeah.
love. That's why I got
Yeah.
into that profession.
Yeah.
So, like you said, do what you love and do
Mm.
what you're good at. That's why it's
Mm.
ikigai, no? The ikigai will be
Yeah.
achieved only when you do
Mm.
what you love, do what you're passionate about, do what you're good at, and do
Mm.
what the world needs.
Mm.
So when you
Yeah.
fall into those four categories,
Mm.
you reach ikigai, the Japanese concept.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for those of you who have not read the book Ikigai,
Mm.
just go ask ChatGPT. She'll give you a summary, and you would
That's
fall in
true.
love with it.
That's true.
Trust me.
That's true. Yeah. So
So
let me direct your attention to one important part as we slowly
wrap up.
get ready to wrap.
Yeah.
Not yet, but where it's like you can see the landing strip somewhere in the distance.
Yes, the lights are
Uh,
there.
the lights, you can see the landing lights.
Yeah.
So this is something I discuss. I've been sort of bringing it up front of late because I
Mm-hmm.
realize it's a very important part. Especially in this space of being a coach or a healer for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
um, the none of us made it here on our own. There were people before us that have set that path in place, like we're talking about landing lights, right? So I'd love for you to share your journey of mentors. So like you mentioned a few names over the course of our time here together, but if you could share like what that journey has been like. So when do you recall, like you mentioned also your principal, so you've had mentors at different points, not just in the last couple of years but over a period of time. So as you reflect on the journey,
Mm-hmm.
do share with us like some of those mentors that have made an impact on you. Two reasons also why I ask this is sometimes people hearing your story can be inspired not just by you, but even let's say the name of a mentor you might be referring to who has made an impact on you, because sometimes all our role is to just you know uh, validate what we are searching for. So we are like, okay, I think maybe this is the person who can make a difference in my life, and then they hear your story and they go, yeah, I was right, let me now you know uh, like find out more about this mentor, let me like take at least one step forward with that particular mentor. So I also say this because a lot of times I've noticed that coaches might or may not mention the names of their mentors for whatever reason, right? And I've
Okay.
noticed this as a pattern. Yeah, so I'm saying I've done this long enough now to see that a lot of times names get they get dropped.
Drop.
Not drop the names, but they get dropped. If
Interesting.
English is a funny language like that. So yeah, so so if you could share in your words like
So,
how who your mentors have been,
who they are and anything specific to them, or
basically how they've made an impact in your life, in your
okay.
journey.
So, like you said, the first mentors we have is our parents, of course. Always been that
Mm,
sounding board of,
mm,
and my father was my inspiration to start realizing that I have to use my talent fully.
mm.
But it was my principal who actually supported me the way a
What was her
mentor
name?
should support. Sister Rose Daphne.
Nice.
Sister Rose Daphne from St. Dominic's School, Dominic's Anglo Indian. It's the, what's the convent name? I forgot. Yeah. So
Mm.
I think, yeah, it's St. Dominic's School. I forgot the convent name. But yeah,
Mm.
Sister Rose Daphne. I actually, when I came back from Dubai, I
Mm.
somehow got her phone number and I called her.
How sweet.
I didn't tell the story, but quickly to just set a
Mm.
context of why
Mm.
she's so important to me.
Mm.
I told you I was an outstanding student in class.
Mm.
This will be like
Mm.
everyone will be like, you're going to put your hand on your head and scream when you hear what I'm going to say. So, since I was an outstanding student, I always got into the bad books with the teacher.
Mm.
I told you I hated geography, right?
Right.
So, I actually copied in my geography exam.
Mm.
And how I copied is because there was someone who influenced me to copy. Like I was
Mm.
sitting and I was breaking my head. I was like, oh my god, what is this physical features of? I remember the
Mm.
question also, the physical features of India. I couldn't remember where is where,
Right.
right? So that was the detailed answer which they said it will come. So I said, okay, I'll write 220 marks, I'll pass. So I was studying and nothing was happening. So the mechanic next to my house, he came. He said, what are you doing? I said, I can't study this, and I was crying. So he said, When I was in college, I used to write it in a piece of paper and copy. And I took his advice very seriously. So I wrote one answer on this side of the paper, one answer on this side of the paper,
Mm.
and I copied. So long story short, I got caught.
Mm.
And when I got caught, I expected this principal to probably throw me out, or I don't
Right.
know. I was expecting her to even beat me, but I don't think they do that. My teachers
Mm.
have tried to scare to beat me, but
Mm.
they've not done that. So I was fully scared, and moreover, I was scared about my mother because she would have
Mm.
brought maybe all the household equipment to hit me. So when I went into the office, I'm crying
Mm.
because I'm upset. I know I shouldn't have
Mm.
done it. I know
Mm.
it's wrong,
Mm.
and I'm crying. And the first thing she does is that the teacher who came to the teacher, blah 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 blah. She said something. She said, "It's fine. You can leave. I will handle her." And then she left me, and I came into the class, into the office, and
Mm.
she said, "Fatima, would you like some water?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "Huh?" I'm confused. I'm
Right.
crying and I'm sobbing. I've been crying for over 30 minutes because she had to finish her
Mm.
rounds and everything and then come in. It was exam time, so lunch time, no?
Mm.
And she came in, and the first question she asked me is, "Fatima, would you like some water?" And I'm like, "No, sister, I don't want any water. I'm very sorry, sister." And I'm apologizing and pleading. And she said, "Don't worry about all that. Just tell me, would you like some water? Actually, I want you to have some water. Can you have some water?" And I'm like,
Mm.
"Okay," because I was parched in my throat
Mm.
from all the crying, and my face was red. So she gave me this glass of water, and I drank the water. I drank the whole glass of water. I was so surprised that she gave me water actually, but I was very thankful. I said, "Thank you, sister." And then again, I started crying. She said, "You don't have to cry now. I know that you realize that you've done something wrong. Is that correct?"
Mm.
"Yes, sister, I realize I've done something wrong. So why did you do this?" I told her the story. Then she's like, "A lot of people will give you a lot of advice, but you have to know which advice is good and which advice is bad,
Wow.
right? So you
Mm.
need to also know which advice will help you, which advice will not help you, right? Now, do you
Mm.
think that copying is going to help you understand the subject? Why you don't
Mm.
understand the subject? I told her the teacher doesn't make me understand. She said, "Okay, that's fine. You can get help. Ask
Mm.
your parents to put you in the tuition." I told her my parents cannot afford tuition. Then she said, "You have to remember this. Right is right, even if nobody does it.
Wow.
And wrong is wrong, even if everybody does it."
Mm.
And that is the words I will never forget till I go to my grave, right? And that was
Wow.
like a bulb on moment for me.
Mm.
And I fell in love with her immediately because of her gesture of not blaming me, not
Mm.
criticizing me, not making me feel small, not making me feel inadequate, not making me feel like I'm stupid
Amazing.
because I
Mm.
did not know the subject, but telling me that I just need to seek the right help, the
Mm.
right support system, the right mentors,
Wow.
but in a childish way
Sure.
that I could
Sure.
understand. And then she told me, "From today onwards, whenever you have geography, I want you to come and meet me. I will take classes for you. I will tell you the subject. I will do tuition for you because I have time after school. So you just
Mm.
finish your school, 30 minutes, inform your parents, and I will take the class for you." Up until that time, I was the outstanding student outside the
Mm.
class.
Mm.
After that, I was outstanding in my grades.
Wow.
I went from getting 40 marks just to pass, like how I was
Mm.
deciding 20 marks plus 20 marks, 40, I will
Mm.
pass,
Mm.
to getting 80s, 90s in my
Wow.
subjects. And when I finished my school in 12th standard, I was school topper in business max, second. So
Wow.
this whole journey, look at the balloons here.
Mm.
this
Perfect timing.
this whole journey of me realizing I have potential, I have talent, started with this one person
Amazing.
asking the
Amazing.
right question.
Mm.
If she had to ask anything else, all
Yeah.
of this may not have happened. No, it's like
Yeah.
a
So
ripple
true.
effect.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was
So
one of my
true.
biggest and my most loving mentors. And after that, I had my mentor Shaiju, John. He's no
Mm.
more. He passed away 2 years ago when I came
Mm.
to India. and I was going to meet him, and he passed away with a heart attack in his sleep.
Wow. Wow.
Again, here the learning is an amazing person, full of love, full of talent. All the areas of your life you have to take care of, right? And he was
Mm.
giving, 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 but he didn't take care of himself. So the world lost him too soon.
Mm.
He always was there to push me forward and tell me, go with your ideas, talk bravely,
Mm.
don't put yourself back. He was in my corporate career. And then I met Benjamin Hardy online,
Mm.
YouTube. I had a lot of other mentors like Viktor Frankl. He is my mentor
Mm.
for sure because I've read his
Mm.
book.
Yeah.
And then I had, um, yeah, so after that, I came to India during
Mm.
COVID. I was forced to come back because of my job situation, but
Mm.
I didn't fully relocate. At that time,
Mm.
there was my a friend. She was with me in Dubai, and she'd been telling me that you're very talented. Why don't you do something on your own? Why don't you do something on your own? 3 years before that,
Mm.
also. Every time, because I used to be that person who will complain about my job.
Mm.
I'd say, I hate these people, what they're doing in this office, man. They're not doing anything right. They are expecting such unrealistic things.
Mm.
And there used to be all these people who will listen to me and sympathize. So as
Right.
long as you have people who will listen and
Mm.
sympathize, your story is valid,
Yeah.
right? But this
True.
lady said, you should do something on your own. And when I came to India, I told her the situation. She said, you should go to this guy Siddharth Rajashekhar's webinar. I'm like, who is he? And
Mm.
I've never even heard of his name. Why should I go to his webinar? He said, no, you go and you watch it. I'm like, 3 months I ignored her advice. And then one day she came to my house. So at that time she opened my laptop and she showed me who Siddharth Rajashekhar
Wow.
is. So I was like, okay, let me just register because she's saying. And Siddharth Rajashekhar was someone who gave me a virtual slap on my face.
Mm.
He was the one who
Mm.
woke me up the second time. And he said that, whatever his message,
Mm.
there's so much of message, but the one message is, you have that potential to help someone, and somebody needs your help today, and they're not
Mm.
getting it because you're not doing the right things, right?
Mm.
So if you know something and you don't do it, then you actually don't know it.
Mm.
And he was that one person who intentionally helped me to know the direction where I wanted to go, because up until that time I was all like, I had the Google Maps in my hand and I was
Mm.
thinking which routes to take, right? I
Mm.
didn't know which direction would take me to the destination that I want, because there are so many directions. So
Right.
Siddharth Rajashekar was one person who helped me to take an intentional direction to
Mm.
where I wanted to go in my life.
Mm.
And it's because of him that I started this whole coaching journey.
Mm.
And within months, I got my first client. Like, it was a 5-figure client. uh,
Nice.
and I was like, wow, okay, what he says works. What he says works, let me do it religiously. But
Mm.
still, my monkey brain did some things.
Mm.
And I went a little bit distracted, but then again I always came back because of
Mm.
community. You
Mm.
said, why community is important.
Yeah.
Someone in
Yeah.
the community from Siddharth Rajashekhar's community would message me. They would text
Mm.
me, and I'll be like, okay, let me go back to the leadership call, or let
Mm.
me go back to, the inner circle call, or let me go
Mm.
and join the hackathon. So I used to go for these events, and these events used to keep that fire burning in me
Mm.
alive. And it used to remind me why I'm
Mm.
doing what I'm doing.
Mm.
And yeah, these are like the key mentors that I would like to mention.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody, but yeah, and yeah, the biggest mentor of for all of us is God. He's always been
Mm.
directing me and guiding me, telling me what I
Mm.
need to do, the good voice.
Mm.
So I would say God is my biggest mentor. There was
Yeah.
one point of time when I was going too spiritual, and I was having doubts about religion. But
Mm.
I realized I don't need to stick on to that aspect of it, and I just need to stick on to what I want, which is how I
Mm.
can help people, how can
Yeah.
I spread kindness, how can I spread
Mm.
that impact in the society, which is
Mm.
what God has done, right? God has
True.
helped us, given us life, and
Mm.
allowed us to just be here
Mm.
so that
Mm.
we could do what we want to do. So again,
Yeah.
if we don't do what we are doing, we're doing injustice to the life that we have
Mm.
right now. So
Mm.
we need to fulfill our potential and
Mm.
do what we are meant to do.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful. And I must say it's been a pleasure, listening to you, coming along with you, you taking us with you on your journey, and so much of wisdom. I mean, it's like I said, it just came from the heart, and uh, several times I literally had to stop you just to hear and process that, because it's not just words. There's so much of depth in it. So, for people who've been listening, obviously, for the ones who've come this far, you know who you are, and you can definitely reach out to Fatima. There are her links, her links to various things that will keep showing up, what she's working on now, what, depending on when you come across this video. At that point, also, if you go to the link, uh, the permanent video will of course be there on our YouTube
YouTube.
platform, so you can always come and check her Linktree link, and connect with her, follow along with her, and if what she said has resonated, and if you want to work with her one on one or in her community, you can definitely reach out, and I'm sure you will already be in that space of receiving, because you've already heard her message here. So
My arms are open wide. Come,
exactly
let me
right.
hug you. Give you a virtual hug,
Yes,
Rahul. A virtual hug to you as well.
thank
Thank
you.
you so much for bringing me on here. Like I said, I think I needed this as well, because the last time
Mm.
I did a podcast was exactly 2 years ago,
Wow.
when uh, Sarah Elkins invited me on her podcast, and I remember
Mm.
sharing this story of copying. I would have
Mm.
never shared that story, like maybe before 2022. Until
Correct.
then, nobody knew this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now I have that space
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
comfortable with my mistakes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have that space to accept my mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
minute I did that, I was able to grow, I was able to
Mm.
shine, and I was able
Yeah.
to help people in the
Yeah.
process. So
So
thank you
true.
for inviting me. And
My
I
pleasure.
know that I spoke a lot, and for those of you who are
Just the
watching,
right amount.
for those of you who are watching, you are amazing because you've actually stayed up until now and watched
Mm.
this. That means there is so many things that you're doing right.
Yeah.
There are so many
True.
things. So I want you to give yourself a tap on your back and say, "Good job." And I'm going to say good job, and I'm going to say good job, Rahul, to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful episode. I look forward to tuning back on this and listening
Yeah.
again once it's
Mm.
published on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you so much
Thank you.
for
And
this
like I said, the
space.
yes, and spending this time here like this with you today is a reminder of why the idea not only sort of came to my mind, but how it came into fruition. And today, no surprise, surprise, we are on episode 50, and it means a lot. And what a beautiful way to
50.
reach reach this point, and such powerful stories that you shared. And I know it will definitely inspire people, and like you said, for people who are watching right now, um, that bond has already been created, and you put so much more good out in the world, and I'm sure you will in time to come.
Thank you.
So and for those of you watching, you know that you are special because you reached this point, right? There's goodness when you see it. So I wish each of you who's watching this, a truly amazing life ahead, and you know that you're meant to go out into the world and make this place a better world. So wishing each of you, and of course, Fatima, thank you so much
Wish them
for
a happy Women's
all
Day in
that you've done.
advance. Thank you. Your voice
Yes,
broke up a little
a
bit
happy
there.
Women's Day in advance.
Yes.
So I was just saying that yes, wish all of the women who are watching this a happy Women's Day, especially if you happen to be watching this this March, or maybe next March, or maybe some other March. But as I was saying, these podcasts have been made with you in mind. And once again, Fatima, thank you for taking the time to be here. And to all of you out there, just a reminder and remember to live your purpose. Of course, we'll be back with more pods. We continue on, the journey continues, and we keep looking out for some truly amazing guests. So I know we will have more and more of such amazing people that you can continue to be inspired by. So thank you once again, Fatima,
Thank you.
and to
Bye.
everybody out there as well. We will see you soon.
See you
And
soon.
just give me a moment while I pause our streams. So, with that, we are now